Well, we're set to do the problems for this lesson for 1.4, and we're going to do 1 through 39, all of them. These go rather quickly because we know our math facts, and we're really just adding a little bit here where same sign positive, different sign negative because we're multiplying. So they go rather quickly. We're going to do all of them. All right, here we go. Let's start with the first 7. All right, well, for number 1, what can you conclude about the signs of two integers whose product is positive? You can conclude that the integers have the same sign. Either they're both positive or they're both negative because their product is positive. And for part B, what can you conclude about the sign of two integers whose product is negative? You can conclude that their signs are different to get a negative. One would have to be positive and one would have to be negative. For number 2, it says write two integers whose product is negative. There's an infinite number of possibilities here, but one possibility is you could have written 2 and -3. 2 times -3 gives us -6 because different signs give you a negative product. Here it says tell whether the product is positive or negative without multiplying. So for number 3, it'd be negative. Why? Different signs. For number 4, it'd be positive. Why? Same signs. And for number 5, it'd be negative again. Why? Different signs. For number 6, tell whether the statement is true or false and explain your reasoning. The product of 3 positive integers is positive. That's true. Any 3 positive integers you multiply together is going to give you a positive product. Why? Because you multiply from left to right, let's say. 2 positives is going to give you a positive, and then that positive with a third positive is going to give you another positive. Or you might say, because there's an even number of negatives. Remember, 0 is an even number. So if there's an even number of negatives, your answer is going to be positive when multiplying. Number 7, the product of 3 negative integers is positive. Well, that's false. We just said you have to have an even number of negatives to get a positive, and this has 3 negatives. An odd number of negatives when multiplying will always give you a negative. So this number 7 was false. Moving on to the next problems, 8 through 23. All right, well, these should have gone rather quickly, so here we go. Number 8, 6 times 4 is 24, same sign, so it's positive. Number 9, 7 times 3 is 21, different signs, so it's negative. 2 times 8 is 16, different signs, negative. 3 times 4 is 12, same sign, positive. Number 12, 6 times 7 is 42, different sign, negative. Number 13, 3 times 9 is 27, same sign, positive. Number 14, 8 times 5 is 40, different sign, negative. And 15, 1 times 12 is 12, same sign, positive. Number 16, 5 times 10 is 50, different sign, negative. 13 times 0, negative 13 times 0 is 0. But I was going to say 13 times 0 is 0, and 0 is neither negative nor positive, so it's just 0. 9 times 9 is 81, different sign, negative. 15 times 2 is 30, different sign, negative. 10 times 11 is 110, different sign, negative. 6 times 13 is 78. Same sign, positive. 7 times 14 is 98. Different sign, negative. And 11 times 11 is 121. Same sign, positive. For the next two problems, number 24, it said you burn 10 calories. So burning 10 calories, getting rid of them would be a negative 10 each minute you jog. What integer represents the change in your calories after jogging for 20 minutes? So if it's negative 10 every minute and times 20 minutes, negative 10 times 20, well, 10 times 20 is 200, and it's negative because there's one of each. For number 25, similarly, about 60,000 acres of wetlands are lost each year in the United States, so that's a negative 60,000. What integer represents the change in 4 years? Well, negative 60,000 times 4. 60,000 times 4 would be 24 with 1, 2, 3, 4 zeros, or 240,000, and we have one of each, so a negative 240,000. Going on to the next problems. Okay, for these 6 problems, we've got 3 factors. Here I see I have an even number of negatives, so I know my answer is going to be negative. But we're going to work from left to right anyway. 3 times 8 is 24, and I have one of each, so different signs, so it's negative. And now I have 24 times 2, which is 48. And I have same sign, so my answer is positive, like we already said it was going to be. For number 27, an even number of negatives is going to yield a positive product, but we're going to go from left to right. 6 times 9 is 54. Different signs, so it's negative. Times negative 1. 54 times 1 equals 54, of course. Same sign, so my answer stays positive. Number 28, we have an odd number of negatives. So I know ahead of time my answer is going to be negative. But we're going to go from left to right. 3 times 5 is 15, and I have same sign, so it's positive 15. Times negative 4. 15 times 4 equals 60. But this time I have one of each. Different signs, so my answer is negative. Number 29. Odd number of negatives. That means my answer is going to be negative. But here we go. 5 times 7 is 35. Same sign, so positive 35. Positive 35 times negative 20. Well, 35 times 20 equals 700. And it's going to be a negative 700 because I have different signs here. For number 30, an even number of negatives is going to give me a positive answer. But 6 times 3 is 18, and I have different signs, so my answer is negative. And then 18 times 2 is 36. Same sign, so positive 36. And down here, before I even get started, I see that one of my factors is a 0. So no matter how I multiply this together, my result will be 0. Moving on. Here's some of those problems with the exponents. Here's negative 4 in parentheses squared. Well, we know negative 4 in parentheses squared means that in parentheses negative 4 times in parentheses negative 4. 4 times 4 is 16, and I have same sign, so it's positive 16. For number 33, negative 1 in parentheses to the third power, or cubed. So I've got in parentheses negative 1 times in parentheses negative 1 times in parentheses negative 1. Well, negative 1 times negative 1 gives me a positive 1, because same sign, positive, times one more negative 1 here. 1 times 1 is 1, but I have different signs, so it's a negative 1. We should have known that up here because we have an odd number of negatives. My answer was going to be negative. And number 34, negative 8, no parentheses squared, which means negative 8 times 8. Well, 8 times 8 is 64, and they're both positive, so same sign, positive. And then that negative comes down to give us a negative 64. Same kind of problem here. Negative 6, no parentheses, squared. will be negative 6 times 6. Well, 6 times 6 is 36, and that negative comes down to make it a negative 36. Kind of the same type of problem here, but we're going to add on or actually multiply on a 4. So negative 5 squared, no parentheses, so it's negative 5 times 5 with a times 4 on the end here. 5 times 5 is 25. That negative comes down now. Times 4. 25 times 4 is 100, and one of each makes it negative 100. And finally here, negative 2 times this negative 3 to the third power is, in parentheses, negative 3 times, in parentheses, negative 3 times, in parentheses, negative 3. Negative 2 times negative 3. Well, 2 times 3 is 6. Same sign, so it's positive. And we'll bring down these negative 3's that are also factors here. 6 times 3 is 18. But different signs, so it's negative 18 times this last negative 3 now. 18 times 3 is 54. Same sign, so it's a positive 54 on number 37. Last two problems. Well, on the last two problems here, we're supposed to describe and correct the error in evaluating the expression. So for number 38, they put negative 2 times negative 7 equals a negative 14. Well, that should have been a positive 14 because same sign positive. And if we were going to describe their error, it's a common error right off the bat for students to think, well, two negatives multiplied together is going to give you a negative, obviously. But that's not correct. So same sign should have been a positive 14. And on number 39, negative 10 squared equals 100. If they would have had parentheses around that negative and the 10, then this would be correct, actually, because it would have been negative 10 times negative 10. And that would be a positive 100. But because there are no parentheses, this would have been negative and then 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100, and then that negative gets back on there. So the answer should have been negative 100. They forgot to put the negative back on. Don't tell anybody I wrote in my book. Awesome. All right, well, you can head on over and do journal page 18 now. Have a great night.